You are live, my friend.
Welcome to the best sports betting show on the planet. This is WagerTalk Today. I am your host, Andy Lang. It is Wednesday. We got a lot to talk about. We're going heavy on college football. We've got some MLB to go over. And then we're adding a new segment. Ross Benjamin is going to say, this line makes no sense. And then we'll talk it out. So, going to be a busy day. Jesse's going to join us. We're going to talk about this Northern Illinois Maryland game. He had the option to pick two teams to fade or two teams to bet on this week in college football. Excited for that. Ross Benjamin is going to do this line makes no sense. He's also going to break down Yankees, Astros, Iowa, and Iowa State. And we've got your free plays here and all around the world. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let's do the Steam report. If we want to start with baseball, because I know you baseball guys love hearing this, we do not have any massive line moves as of yet. I see Miami is taking some money, only a 10-15 cent line move. Our good friends, the Colorado Rockies, believe it or not, are taking a little bit of money. San Fran opened at minus 225. That's down to minus 200 in some places. And it looks like Boston may have changed their we got a change in starting pitching in Boston. So keep your eye on that. Looks like Seattle has taken a lot of money against Tampa Bay this morning. And Minnesota, only other one that I see, that was minus 170. I'm seeing minus 190s pop up. As far as college football this week, we can go over and look at it. Not a whole lot of line moves here. James Madison has taken a little bit of money. That did move through the key number of 14. So James Madison has been taking enough to move it from 15 down to 13.5. And we'll talk about Northern Illinois and Maryland. We'll go over Saturday games tomorrow and Thursday when we have a few more bets. So, all right, let's get started with Jesse. Jesse, we're going to talk a lot of college football, sir. Happy Wednesday. How are you?
Not bad. We got the first week of college football in the books. A lot of surprises, but I covered every game, as you know, and I was pretty happy with my analysis for the most part.
Well, let's jump right into it. Let's talk about Northern Illinois and Maryland. I believe this is a Friday game. What do you make of these two teams?
Northern Illinois, of course, the Giant Slayers last year. They had that big upset win over Notre Dame in week 2. They were 8-5 overall, 4-4 in the MAC, 5-6-2 against the spread. They played a lot of close games. In addition to the win over Notre Dame, they had a close loss, 24-17 against NC State. This is a team that wasn't losing any games by 17 points last year. Last year's team, though, unfortunately, is gone, which is why head coach Thomas Hammock went viral with a bit of a rant online over the summer, talking about getting your degree, and your degree is going to be worth more than any NIL that anybody can pay you, and referring to his players that left, because Northern Illinois ranks 136th. That's dead last in FBS in returning production. Everybody left. He mentioned that a lot of those guys might not even play for the teams they left for, but it leaves them in a tough spot, let's put it that way. And that was quite evident when they just barely hung on to beat Holy Cross 19-7 in week 1. They're up against a Maryland team that is the redheaded stepchild of the Big Ten, 1-8 in the Big Ten last year, 3-1 in non-conference play, though, and that included a 29-28 home win over USC. Maryland usually does take care of business in non-conference home games. It's got to be Maryland or pass at the line of 17.5 for me.
The redheaded stepchild of the Big Ten, huh? You say we didn't. We're not very welcoming to the Terps here, Jesse.
Well, that's not in my notes. That just kind of rolled off the tongue, you know.
I was a senior at Indiana University when the Terps beat us in the national championship game for basketball. It was one of the best days. Even though we lost, it was one of the most fun days I've ever had. So, yeah, I got a big spread there, and I would have to tend to agree with you. I believe some money has come in on that on your side as well. So, all right, last time you were on here, a few times ago, you said, I'm going to give you some teams to fade. And you were right. You did very well predicting the teams to fade. So tell us about those teams. And then we gave you the option. You want to fade more teams? You want to give us some teams to bet on? The choice is yours.
Yeah, so I think it was 2 weeks ago now, Andy, and I gave you Penn State, Baylor, and Southern Miss to fade. and those teams went 0-3 against the spread in week one, and two of them lost outright. Baylor was expected by many to beat Auburn. A lot of people were really high on Baylor. They got absolutely crushed. And Southern Miss, a team that was loaded with transfers and a new coach that brought half his team over from Marshall, they did not look good against Mississippi State. We're going to fade Mississippi State this week, though. Mississippi State, as mentioned, they had little trouble running over Southern Miss team on the road. Now they return home to face a playoff team from last year, Arizona State. Arizona State, the favorite to win the Big 12, or one of the favorites to win the Big 12. Number 12 ranked Arizona State, I believe. This Arizona State team brought everybody back except for Cam Scadaboo. And last year, they were whooping Mississippi State at home by a score of 27-3 in the first half. They ended up hanging on to win by a score of 30-23, I believe it was. They won by 7 points as a 6.5-point favorite, and they will be a 6.5-point favorite here on the road this time around. I think that game last year, the final score doesn't do it much justice. Arizona State was driving in the red zone, going to score another touchdown to win that game by double digits, but they ended up running out the clock and kneeling, doing the victory formation. We're not reading much into Mississippi State's win over a Sun Belt team in week one. As I said, we were fade. That was a fade of Southern Miss, not a bet on Mississippi State. I still don't think Mississippi State has the weapons to compete with a legit playoff contender in Arizona State. And the line of 6.5 is on the wrong side of the key number of 7, in my opinion.
All right. I like it. And we're going to keep fading away. We're going to keep telling you which teams you don't believe in. I think we're going down to Florida, aren't we?
Well, we talked about what I got right in week one, Andy. Now we got to talk about what I got wrong. I had a big bet on Boise State against South Florida. The whole world was on South Florida in week one, and they absolutely crushed Boise State 34-7. Tough loss for myself. But you know what? It was statistically the most fraudulent win in week one. The South Florida Bulls had the lowest success rate of any team that won in week one. You break down the numbers. Boise State had an edge in total yards, 378 to 372. First downs, 25-15. Time of possession, 36-21 to 23-39. South Florida had a fake punt converted into a touchdown. Backup quarterback comes in, pretends to be the punter, and throws for a touchdown pass. Boise State had 3 fumbles. So I watched that game. South Florida came out just absolutely hyped up. All the credit to them. They played well. They're probably going to be a threat in the American, but they're on the road at Florida this week, and the Gators are a legit playoff caliber team, an SEC team. And this line opened at 18.5. It's down now. You can get 17.5. I think Florida is going to absolutely crush the South Florida Bulls.
I didn't know anything about Boise or South Florida. Probably a lot of people didn't. And I was watching. I was like, who is this quarterback for South Florida? He's running absolutely wild. You don't expect that to happen again this week.
No, like I said, a lot of things went right for South Florida in week one, and we don't expect that to continue on the road here in week two.
All right, Jesse, that's really, really good. Really good breakdowns and such. Just real quick. Is there anything in particular you're looking at for teams to fade? Like when I'm looking at teams to fade, I love bad coaches. You're always going to talk me into fading a team with bad coach, but that's a little bit more in pro. What are you looking at in college football when you're trying to pick teams to fade?
Well, I was planning on coming in here and talking about the SEC and odds to win the playoffs, but it was specifically in the agenda to talk about week two. But if you talk about the big picture moving forward, some of the teams I mentioned on previous shows, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, and Auburn as long shots in the SEC, they got to be licking their chops after seeing Alabama and Texas come out flat in week one. And both those teams, you don't want to overreact to the week one results, but both those teams appear to have some serious issues. I did not like the coaching from Sarkisian, the way he used Arch Manning. Arch Manning did not play well, but Sark didn't do him any favors either. You can't really like Texas moving forward. And if Texas and Alabama aren't going to be who they thought we were, who does that open the door for? You look at a team like Oklahoma. They play both. They have both those teams on their schedule. Oklahoma, I believe, you can still get them at 20-1 to win the SEC. That's something that I don't mind mentioning.
I had a prop on Arch Manning to throw over 1.5 touchdown passes, and like in the first quarter, I was like, "This is no chance." Like he looked terrible. Was it that Sark like kind of threw him under the bus with the play calling, or did it strike you that they just didn't trust him in that spot? It was just very curious how tentative everything was for them.
Well, failing to convert on all those fourth downs certainly didn't help, and then it puts more pressure on him. I mean, I can't make excuses. I'm not making any excuses for Arch Manning. He was missing wide open receivers. The moment was obviously too big for him. I had Texas in that game. I felt that we've seen enough of Arch Manning that no matter how poorly he plays, he's not going to be a deer in the headlights because he's played college football last year and been in games, and he should know what to expect. And you compare that to Julian Sayin, who didn't have any experience. And unfortunately, we saw the absolute worst version of Arch Manning against Ohio State. And we don't want to overreact, but there's a lot of pressure on the kid now, and it's hard to imagine he's just going to put that behind him very easily.
Yeah. The guy I bet with who lives over in England, he like barely watches college football. He was watching that game and he was like, "What quarterback's supposed to be the big prospect? Which one's the really good one?" Like, no, it's Arch Manning, the guy that just threw the interception. So interesting week one for sure. Jesse, tell everyone what you have up for clients at WagerTalk.
Well, we do have a 30-day all-access football package, college and NFL, but we throw in the CFL, and I'm doing pretty damn well with CFL this season, hitting around 75%. Number one with CFL this year and the last 5 years since I joined the WagerTalk network. So get that NFL and college football and appreciate some CFL as well.
Absolutely. Don't forget about CFL. I've been telling people that all week. Don't forget about baseball. Don't forget about CFL. So Jesse's going to bring all those sports to you. Go check him out over at WagerTalk. Thanks, Jesse. Great breakdown. Great segment as always. Let's see. Tessie had a question here about getting bets down, and this is not just we'll talk about this. It's not just applicable to Contender Series. This is everything, and especially now that we're dealing with NFL props. You have to know when and how to deal with betting with some of these books like FanDuel and DraftKings, and I noticed Fanatics was mentioned. I spread out my bets. I'm not and I'll do it different from week to week. So I'll bet DraftKings on Contender Series 1 week, then the next week FanDuel, then the next week BetMGM. So that way, on one book, I may only have bet twice on Contender Series in an entire 10 episode season. You should do that with props as well. Don't put all your props on the same book. This sounds counterintuitive. You can't beat the line on props. Even though there's a prop that they have completely mispriced and you know it's going to move, I promise you, if you do that a couple times, you are instantly flagged and you are going to get limited. So when you're betting some of these fringier things like player props, late Contender Series, you got to spread out your bets, and it sucks. But if you beat the line big time, you're instantly going to get taken away. So you just got to think it's a marathon, not a sprint. So my best suggestions is sit out when you know there's a huge line move coming, and just spread out your bets across as many sports books as humanly possible. So that's kind of what I do. So, all right. Travis, we've all dealt with it, guys. We all have dealt with this before. So fire away questions if you ask. There's a way that you can kind of play the game within the game and not get yourself limited. So, all right, let's do all around the world. Let's get some free plays here for everybody. We got a nice little combination of everything here. We're going to start with WNBA. We're going to go to the Sparks at the Dream. Jordan, Canada, over 10.5 points. Here's a great player prop. This line has come out and it's stayed steady, which I don't quite understand. I think this should be higher. She's gone over in 8 out of the last 9 games. But she's not just barely going over. Her last 4 games, she scored at least 13 points or more. So, again, when we talk about WNBA, the books get a little lazy. These are called the lazy lines, where they just keep putting out the same prop over and over and over again. We saw this with Rakia Jackson and her 1.5 3-pointers. We got 10 straight wins out of that one. We'll move to the Giants and the Rockies. Ralph is going with a Yurfee. Listen, it's at Colorado, and the Rockies are on a 14-5 Yurfee run. So, get a decent price. Fire away on the Giants and the Rockies. Yes, there will be a run in the first inning. And let's take a look at the Giants and Commanders. I broke this game down. There is going to be a Giants and Commanders breakdown video from yours truly. I'll be up later this afternoon. I like this rushing total for Tyrone Tracy, over 57.5 yards rushing. He barely played in the first game against Washington last year, but in the second game, he had 66 yards on 16 carries. The Giants' offensive line is not very good. One of the best ways to hide that is to run the ball. And the Commanders, you can absolutely run on. Their defensive line is weak, and they gave up the 3rd most yards per rush last year. I don't see improvement from it. So Tyrone Tracy, over 57.5 on the rushing. Mark wants to know, any thought on the Cowboys team total, 17.5? Seems a little low. Yeah, it does seem a little bit low. These Cowboy games could absolutely turn into shootouts. Their defense is not good, so their offense may be, trying to catch up. Philly's defense is obviously legit, argue one of the best. I mean, it's top 3 in the NFL, but maybe a little let down on ring night, first game of the season, maybe coming up the Super Bowl win. So if you could get under the 17.5 on an alt line, I would love that. Maybe use it as a parlay piece, but I'm certainly not taking unders on Cowboys team totals anytime soon. So running a really nice special here, guys. I believe we mentioned this the other day, 7 days of all access for only $77. Great time to jump on board. We have a huge weekend. NFL week 1, college football week 2. You're going to get every single play, along with MLB, along with UFC, along with cricket, along with tennis. You name a sport, it is included in this. 7 days of all access for just $77. If you've had success with your favorite handicapper, lock in 7 days. If you want to try somebody new, great time. We should have a good amount of bets for all handicappers across WagerTalk. So perfect way to test drive a handicapper you haven't dealt with before, or go to your favorite handicapper and lock in 7 days for just $77. That is available for every handicapper on the deals page over at WagerTalk. No promo code needed. All right, let's bring in Ross, the boss, Benjamin. Ross, we got a lot to talk about here. We got Iowa State. We got Yankees, Astros, and then we get your first time ever doing this segment. This line makes no sense. I want to start with Iowa and Iowa State, though. In-state rivalry here, we got a 3-point spread. Over-under is 41.5. To me, that seems unbelievably high for an Iowa team. Normally, you see Iowa's totals like in the 30s. But what's your breakdown on the Cyclones and the Hawkeyes here?
Yeah, Iowa's improved a little bit offensively. So those anemic offensive days for Iowa, I'm not saying that they're a great offense, but they're certainly better than they were a couple years ago. That change at the offensive coordinators made a world of difference for Iowa. So I think that's why we're seeing that total around 41.5, like you alluded to. We're used to seeing them in the 30s. But having said all that, look, this is an Iowa team that's going to be playing with revenge. They lost a heartbreaker at home to Iowa State last year, 20-19. However, this annual rivalry series, Iowa has won the last 6 games played in Ames. So they've really dominated the Cyclones on their home field in this rivalry. And like I said, offensive coordinator Tim Lester, who came aboard last year, and right away he improved Iowa's offense by 13 points per game and 108 yards per game as compared to the season before. I also like the addition of former South Dakota State quarterback Mark Gronkowski, who comes over in the senior year to take the helm behind center for the Iowa Hawkeyes. And he led the Jackrabbits to 2 national titles at the FCS level in his 3 years as a starter. He also went 49-6. So the kid is a winner. I know he's stepping up in class, but still, FCS football is a pretty good brand when you get into the top 5 or 6 teams, and he fared pretty well in that arena. Iowa State 2-0 this year, and I thought the opening win against Kansas State was pretty impressive, Andy, but now you look back and it doesn't seem as impressive. If you watch Kansas State last week, barely get by an FCS team in North Dakota 38-35, and they needed a last-minute touchdown to do so. So I think Iowa State may not be as good as we thought after seeing that Kansas State game. They did hammer South Dakota last week, but this is a whole different entity getting into this rivalry game against a Iowa defense that's going to be very formidable under defensive coordinator Parker. And look, here's the other thing. Game 2 non-conference away dogs are between 1.5 and 6 points, like the Iowa Hawkeyes are. And they're playing with revenge, which they lost last year 20-9. They're coming off a straight-up win by 32 points or fewer. 27-5 against the spread since 1982. That's 84%. And not only 27-5 against the spread, those underdogs won 22 of those 32 games outright. I'm going to go with the Iowa Hawkeyes plus the 3 at Iowa State on Saturday.
A pretty impressive percentage there, 27-5. It's not just a couple games. So very interesting there. Let's move to MLB real quick, and let's take a look at this Yankees Astros. We got Warren for the Yankees. We got Alexander for the Astros. Yankees a -30 favorite right now. I believe the line is moving towards the Yankees. I didn't see the game last night. I read about it that the Astros had quite the problem putting bunts down. I didn't see any of it, but I heard about it. We get the over-under sitting at 9 here. I believe landed on the number 8, which was the opening number yesterday. So what's your breakdown on Yankees and Astros today?
Yeah, let's focus in on that total, Andy, which is 9. Will Warren is talk about redheaded stepchild. He's the redheaded stepchild of the Yankees starting rotation. However, he's pitched fairly well over his last 5 starts, a 2.84 ERA. His last 3 on the road, an 0.61 ERA. Here, the thing with Warren, though, he's not giving you a lot of innings because his propensity to have control issues at times. But the Yankees bullpen has been lights out over the last week. As a matter of fact, specifically over the last 6 games, a 1.93 ERA, 0.75 whip as a staff. Not only that, the Yankees bullpen over their last 6 games, 20 strikeouts against 1 walk. That's unheard of for a bullpen to have that good of control and issue only 1 walk over a 6-game period of time. The Yankees have won 8 of their last 9. And during this stretch, they've only allowed 2.6 runs per game. The Yankees have allowed 4 runs or fewer in their last 7 games. And this year, they're 15-4 to the under after allowing 4 runs or fewer in 5 straight games. So that definitely qualifies tonight. Jason Alexander, I mean, if you just take away everything else, because his numbers aren't impressive whatsoever. However, in his 1 start against the New York Yankees this year, he pitched 6 innings of scoreless baseball, allowing only 1 hit, walking 3. And against this current Yankees roster, not against the Yankees franchise overall, but the players on this roster right now for the New York Yankees, they're only 3 for 26 lifetime against Alexander. That's a 115 team batting average. The Houston bullpen, they've been very good over their last 7 games with a staff 2.57 ERA and more impressive 33 strikeouts in 21 innings pitched. So they get themselves out of a lot of jams with that strikeout to inning pitch ratio over the last week. The Astros have played 7-1-1 to the under in their last 9, and they're a major culprit on why those low-scoring affairs have occurred, because over those 9 games, they've averaged just 2.6 runs per game. I'm going to go with the New York Yankees and the Houston Astros under the total of 9. And Andy, I know I'm going to be in the minority with that pick.
Hey, sometimes that's really good. I think we talked about it yesterday. You want to be on the side of the books. You're normally in a really, really good spot. So, all right, let's do a brand new segment. This segment we call This Line Makes No Sense. All right, Ross, you were able to take a look at some of these lines. What did you come across where this line makes no sense?
So let me preface this by saying it makes sense to me, but it certainly jumped off the page when I saw it. I usually look for games like this and try to make sense of what doesn't make sense, if that makes sense.
Yes, very well
Anyway,
said. Very well said.
Sometimes I like to humor myself, Andy. Anyway, look, the game between Ohio, who's hosting a Big 12 opponent in West Virginia, this opened with Ohio being just a 3-point underdog. And you stop and say, wait a minute, you got a MAC team as just a 3-point underdog against a team from the Big 12. Right? You know, those who don't follow college football avidly or professionally like we do, I think that this would shock them to see this, and the impulsive action would be to take the team from the Power Four conference against a MAC school, even though they're on the road. And then you factor in that West Virginia has since 2000, my database goes back to 1980. So since 2003, West Virginia is 18-0 straight up against teams from the MAC. And then I take it one step further and I say, well, how does Big 12 teams do against MAC teams? And since 2004, the Big 12 has gone 51-12 straight up against MAC teams. And not only that, they've gone 39-23-1 against the spread. That's 63% against the MAC. So this just looks like a trap to me, Andy. You know, it's this Ohio team's not bad. I had them last week as a 10-point underdog against Kentucky. They're the favorite to win the MAC. They have a lot of returning starters. And this West Virginia, you know, I'm not a big Rich Rod guy. I never have been. But I also don't like the situations where schools bring back a coach that had a lot of success there previously and then went on to other stops and failed miserably and now come back. And Rich Rod, you know, at the other stops he's been at, he failed miserably at Michigan. He did have, I got to give him credit, he did a great job at Jacksonville State, but that's not a Power Four conference. You know, you look at guys like Greg Schiano, hasn't been able to recapture the magic he had at Rutgers before. You look at Mac Brown coming back to North Carolina after having a successful run years ago. It just doesn't work to me. So, again, this looks like it doesn't make sense, but when you really stop and look inside the numbers, it does. And I'm not giving you a pick on this game. I'm just saying this is a game I'm going to stay away from because I just think it looks like a trap. I think a lot of people are going to jump all over West Virginia just for the reasons I said. But I do think realistically, when you look inside the numbers and what both teams bring back, I mean, West Virginia brought in 50 transfers. It's going to take time to gel, and they played an FCS opponent last week. And like I said, Ohio went on the road last week against an SEC opponent and gave them all they can handle in a one-score game.
That's a great breakdown, Ross. I love it. I think you nailed that segment. Find a line that doesn't make any sense. Tell us to be worried about it, that it's very trappy. I think that was really, really well done. Well done. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, what do you have to promote for everybody?
Well, last week in college football, 4-3, not great, but we made a profit of 3.35 units. Thank goodness for my 5% best bet cashing on LSU as an underdog outright at Clemson. So, and by the way, Andy, if those of you out there who watched my college football betting preview with Teddy Covers, we did from the Westgate Sportsbook a couple weeks ago, still on my YouTube channel, or YouTube page, I should say, wt.buzz/Ross TV. I picked LSU to win the SEC at plus 700. Also picked LSU to win the national title at plus 1,400. So, like an LSU at this point, Andy, They did me well. In college football, number one last year in both win percentage and also in units earned. Over the last 2 seasons in college football, number one in units earned combined over the last 2 seasons in college football. And Major League Baseball, bad night last night going 0-2, but still number one in Major League Baseball this year, in up around 80 units since mid-May. So, again, Major League Baseball treat me well. And NFL, we go into the season on an 8-3 run. I have a Thursday winning total up right now, Dallas and Philadelphia. Get it? I also have the Monday night winning side in the game between the Vikings and Bears. And we'll have at least 3 picks on Saturday in college football and at least 1 on Friday, possibly 2 on Friday. So we'll see. So that's what you got to look forward to, folks. You can get my college football annual package for just $5.99. We'll take you right through the national championship game. I don't know why you wouldn't consider buying that with everything I just told you. It's all factual. It's all backed by WagerTalk.com. And if you want college football and NFL combined, great price, $8.49. Take advantage of these offers right now, folks. And also, if you want to give me a test run, it sounds like my single days when I used to date a lot of women. If you want to give me a test run, then $77 for 7 days in Major League Baseball, NFL, and college football. You can't beat that with a stick, Andy.
Oh, tell me we're clipping that where Ross says you can give him a test run for $77. Ross Benjamin, great segment. Great segment, Ross. I can't wait to do this again next week. Good luck. Let's have a great weekend.
Appreciate you, Andy.
That's hilarious. All right, so someone asked if we could do the month bankroll reset. Absolutely, we can. We can also do the last 7 days recap. I said there was something I was supposed to answer in the chat, and I can't find it. So post again what I was supposed to answer in the chat. I know somebody said we're going to talk about Survivor. We're going to do that on Fridays. So myself and Dan are going to answer. We're going to do football Survivor and probably the Super Contest on Fridays. Football Fridays are going to be huge this year, guys. Gianni's going to be here. Teddy Covers is going to be here. Marco's going to be here. Dan and I are going to do Survivor. Hopefully we can get, fingers crossed we can get Kelly to come on every once in a while to talk about some of these spreads, but that's also going to be big NFL props. I know we're getting questions about it in the chat. So the props are out now for week 1. After this week, they're not going to come out till Thursday and Friday. So Friday will be a huge football day. And like I said, we got to be really, really careful about betting props too early. You will absolutely get limited within a few weeks if you beat some of these NFL prop numbers. So, Wager Talk odds not showing tickets or money. The reason why we're not really showing them is because it's really, really hard to get accurate information. That's bottom line. Like, we may have the numbers, but we can't confirm it. I mean, some of it's really, really hard to get proper information from the book. So if we're not going to give out proper information, there's no reason to put it up there. So pretty simple answer. If we can't give you the best, most accurate numbers, we don't want to be those guys that are putting out tickets and money and then they're not even close to accurate. So, and Odds Logic does have that though. Yes, Tessie is right. Odds Logic, if you're interested in these Steam reports, if you're interested in these line moves, Odds Logic has everything. So, all right. Let's see. Let's do our 7-day recap here, Chris, and then we'll show everyone how we do our bankroll reset. We had a really, really nice week. This was one of those weeks where if you bet the Wager Talk percentages, you're up more than if you did flat betting because we hit some of the bigger plays. No NFL plays. College football was a disaster. We lost 7.25 units, including our first team total of the year. That wasn't even close. So it was a terrible read. WNBA, we only had one play, lost that one. Soccer, basically break even. MMA was good. We only had one event. We hit our one play with that. Auto racing continues to be absolutely dynamite. Formula One and NASCAR, big part of the bankroll, up 6.5 units. MLB went 0-1 on the team total. Tennis in the U.S. Open was the big winner. We were up 17 units just in tennis. So Corbin is our tennis department. If you guys follow our tennis plays, you guys know over the last 3 years, you could seriously build a big bankroll just by following tennis plays. And Corbin had a great U.S. Open. So cricket department did fantastic. Only 2 plays, hit both of them for 6 units. And we have a cricket play that goes off in an hour, actually. So, all right. And then, Chris, we want to pull up the spreadsheet. So this is a free spreadsheet that's in our Discord. You can use it. You could use it to track your bankroll if you want. But how I do it is we start with a certain amount of money. At the end of the month, we see how much we're up or down. We plug it in. It tells us what our new bankroll total is. And that way we can determine what is a 1 unit play. 1 unit is 1% of our bankroll. So if we started with 10,000, we had a great month of August. We were coming off of a couple losing months. So we had a huge week in August. So we were up 31 units. So that makes our bankroll 13,100. Now we can establish what 1 unit is, which is now, 131. So that's how we do it. Full disclosure, I'll just tell you guys, I pulled basically all my money out of my bankroll to pay for this new business that I started. So I'm basically starting my bankroll from scratch. I built it up. We took a pretty big hit on the bankroll in spring, but I had plenty to start this new business of mine. So I decided that was well worth the investment. So my bankroll, we're starting over with a small amount, but we can build it up. We've shown that we can do this in a matter of years. And I think my money is going to be better invested in this business that I started. In fact, we just launched our first shipment to Amazon today. So very, very excited and terrified. Absolutely terrified. But all right, guys, thank you so much for doing it. Dan is back from his honeymoon. I believe he'll be back tomorrow. Does Dan not love us anymore? No, he loves his newlywed wife. That's why he went on a honeymoon, Jake. Sorry, you're taking a back seat to Dan's new bride. So no, Dan will be back tomorrow. And then Friday, you will be getting Dan and I going over Survivor and everything. But again, guys, Football Fridays, you do not want to miss. We are jam-packed. The show might go a little bit longer, but it is going to have so much information to get you ready for the weekend. So really, really excited about that. We're going to do it again tomorrow. On Thursday, get ready for Thursday Night Football for the kickoff of the regular season, so make sure you join us. We'll have props, we'll have spreads, we'll have totals, we'll have college football, we'll have MLB, everything to get you ready for the weekend. So hit the like button and leave us a comment. Tell us who you like this weekend. Tell us who you like today. Give us a best bet in the comment section. Thank you so much. Great day from the chat. You guys rock as always. Good luck on your plays tonight, and take care.